Good morning, everybody.
Morning.
So this is being recorded because we're going to email it out later on to everybody. So you guys have a copy of it or you can refer back to it. So we've been talking about working with a potential lead for listing a home, right, for selling a home. And we talked about creating a CMA and coming up with comparable properties for a suggested list price and just preparing the whole listing presentation in general, right? What to include in the listing presentation itself. To the listing appointment. And today we're going to talk about what you're going to say, what you're going to do during the listing appointment. So now that you have your data and your appointment, there's a couple of things that we're going to go back and discuss from what we talked about before, but we're just going to summarize it and then work our way into the listing appointment. So what you're going to learn today, preparation for your listing appointment, getting to know the seller, creating the listing presentation, the actual CMA, the comparable market analysis, what to do with the listing appointment. So before your listing appointment, learn everything you can learn about your potential client, property, and the neighborhood itself. In some cases, it might be your farm area. So if it's your farm area, you're going to be very familiar with the neighborhood, with the schools, with the neighborhood, with the HOA, whatever is involved in that neighborhood, right? Maybe there's shopping centers nearby, so you pretty much know everything about the neighborhood because you're farming in that area. But you want to know about the property itself. And if you are farming that neighborhood, you would have already probably downloaded all the floor plans from insidetrack.com. So if they called you and said, I have a 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, 1750 square foot home, you already have that floor plan, so you know what that looks like. So you're kind of an expert already because you have this stuff. This is all things that we discussed before. Next is the goal is to position yourself as the best possible person to help your prospects sell their home. Right, that's what the goal is. And for that to happen, you'll need to know what the seller's motivations are while demonstrating deep knowledge of the market, property type and area. So you're going to have to interview the seller when they give you a call, right? Know who you're talking to and their motives. Any seasoned real estate agent will tell you that knowing your customers' key needs and motivations is crucial. It's a crucial part of closing more listings, especially in today's age, digital age, not just age, digital age, when the next agent is literally just a click away. So you have to understand that if you don't call them back right away, they're going to go to the next agent. So if you get a lead, someone calls you up and says, hey, I'd like to potentially list my home or know what my home's worth, even if it's just them wanting to know how much their home is worth, you want to give them a call because that says a lot that you spent time to research and it all for free, right? No obligation.
Plant that seed.
Yeah, let them know that you're willing to work with them. Let's see. Let's check in on the latest data about what today's sellers want according to the National Association of Realtors generational trends report, right? So what are sellers looking for? 21% of sellers want an agent's help in marketing their home to potential buyers. So 21% of them care about marketing, right? 20% want help selling their home within a specific time frame. So they have to move out by a certain time. That's what's important to them. 35% want an agent with a good reputation, right? I don't care how long it takes. I want the best person for the job, best qualified person. 85% of sellers said that real estate agent provided a broad range of services. So maybe you're not just a listing agent, but you're also going to help them find replacement property. So you also work with buyers. So when you advertise or market yourself as a listing agent, remember you're listing potential buyers, and that's money out of your pocket. So questions to ask in your initial call with the seller. So the seller calls you up and says, hey, I'm thinking about selling my home. May I ask why you're selling?
Motivation behind it.
Yeah, why? Like, are you moving out of state? Are you downsizing? Are you do you need more space? This will help you understand, like, hey, I can help this person also find a replacement home, right? So it's not just selling a home. Is there a date by which you need to be out of the home by? How fast do they need to move, right? So this is going to help you with your marketing strategy. Like, are you going to if they want to move fast, you're going to price it right. you're gonna price it at market price or maybe even below market, right? Because you need to sell it as soon as possible. If they don't, if time's not a factor, then you can list it a little more, you know, maybe a little higher, get a few offers, counter back and forth. How long have you owned the property for? Did they buy it a year ago? Are they potentially gonna lose money on it? Did they buy it, 20 years ago? They have a lot of equity in the home. And also upgrades, right?
Right.
Have you renovated, remodeled your home, made any repairs or improvements? This is all important because, when you're looking at comparable properties, you're gonna compare it to what they're telling you. And then we'll talk about that a little bit later, but you need to know, is it a newer roof? How old is the roof? Those are the main things that buyers ask for, right?
Right.
Air conditioning unit, is it newer? I think air conditioning and a roof are the main things buyers ask about.
What about the septic tank?
There's no septic tanks here.
Really?
Is anyone else on title? If so, can they be present when we meet? So maybe, this is before you pull up the title report to the property, right? You wanna know if there's any other decision makers, so if you set an appointment and you're hoping to get all the signatures for the listing contract, you want all the signers there, you don't wanna have to just have one person sign and then have to, meet another person, or whatever, right? Or maybe they're doing it without the other person knowing that they're thinking about selling the property.
Hmm.
So here's the thing, you can list the property with only one signer if there's two owners, but you cannot sell the property until both are signed. So both sellers have to sign all the documents, disclosures and everything for the sale of the property. You can list it, but if you list it with one signer, you can enter into the MLS, but you have to disclose under private remarks that for other agencies that not all parties have signed the listing agreement or, signed the necessary documents. So that way they know what's going on. Bonus questions to ask. Can you tell me what makes your home special? This is gonna help you understand a little bit more about maybe why they fell in love with that home. And these are questions you can also, like, if you don't ask them ahead of time, maybe you forget, you can ask them while you're at the property. But what's your favorite room in the home? Like, what drew you to this house? Maybe they love the kitchen, they like to cook a lot, so the kitchen is like a chef's kitchen and they just love it. It's huge, it's open, or maybe it's their backyard and they entertain. And it's just got this built-in barbecue grill, this giant gazebo, maybe a pool, whatever it is. Let them tell you what drew them into the house, because that might be the selling point.
Right.
What's important to you about the agent you use to sell your home? A lot of them are gonna say communication, expertise. Who do you think would be the ideal buyer for your home? And without getting into discrimination or fair housing, they might say maybe a young couple that just, they just started a family, this is perfect for them. Not that you're gonna advertise, because this is illegal to advertise for young couples that, just had a baby, you
Right.
can't do that. But maybe that's something that you wanna gear your advertising towards, younger demographic, or maybe older retired couple, whatever.
Moving the downside.
So your property description will then kind of entail relaxing, come home to a relaxing, paradise, whatever it is, right? So then you're gonna tailor that description to the type of person that you think might be interested in this home, based on what the home looks like, right? Or the neighborhood it's in. But again, that's discrimination to say for a single professional or elderly family or young couple, so don't do that, don't say that. Especially since we're recording this. And also tell your client, your seller, that that's not legal to do that or say that. So another question is, have you worked with a listing agent before in the past? What was your experience? Is there anything you would like done differently by your next listing agent? So if they say that they have worked with another listing agent before, the fact that they're calling you speaks volumes. If they were happy with that listing agent, they would be calling that listing agent or using that listing agent.
Correct.
Or maybe the person retired or whatever the reason might be, but at least you'll understand. And maybe they'll tell you what the other agent did wrong. Oh, that agent never answered our calls, or they never did open houses, whatever the reason. You know, it'll help you understand what they're looking for and what their needs are. So next, after you got off the phone, at this point, you should have already scheduled a listing appointment. I didn't write a bullet point for that on there, but you should have already, by this point, said, okay, so what day works better for you? This day or this day? You know, and what time, and then when they give you a day, what time works better for you? Give them an option. Don't make them try to figure out what day they're open. Just give them a couple options, say this or this. Okay, so Wednesday, 3 p.m. or 6 p.m. What works best, right?
Lock in that meeting.
Yeah, either or definitely has to be difference.
So now your listing presentation, your actual CMA. So here's some key points to include in your listing presentation, right? Oh, let's go back. Comparative market analysis. Remember to compare apples to apples and always stick to the same neighborhood and school district when possible. So when you create a CMA, make sure that you're using similar properties. With Kindle, we were creating a CMA for her, and the property that she's going on a listing appointment for is a single family residence. So when we did a search for single family residence, only one comp came up. But then she added condos to it, and it was the exact same type of property, but it's just categorized differently. But it's the same number of bedrooms, same square footage, same complex. So now she's got more comps to use for her CMA. And it's again apples to apples. It's the same community, same HOA, same everything. So remember to use similar properties. Pricing strategy. This is a big one for setting the right expectations with sellers. Be sure to outline your approach and what the reasons and data behind it is. So you want to provide the evidence of why you think that their home is worth more or less of what they had in mind, right? So educate them, inform them, and show them the evidence. And let me go back to this pricing strategy. The seller upgraded their home completely. I mean, everything is top notch, brand new, maybe a year new, and it's just spotless. The comps are not like that. They're all original. So that justifies asking for more money, right? But the vice versa applies, right? So if their home is all original, but all the comparable sales are upgraded, maybe new wood floors, brand new kitchen cabinets, whatever it is, they've upgraded their home, they've made it look a lot nicer. Your seller should not expect to get the amount of money that they got for their homes because it's original. So that's gonna come into play when you're thinking of a price or coming up with a price. Does that make sense? So your marketing plan, it should also include your marketing plan. This will vary depending on your market, niche and unique approach, but whatever the situation, clear examples and stories of past wins can help impress potential sellers. So your marketing plan, what are you gonna do for them to market their home? You should have, there's a list that I have here that I'll show you at the end that you can use and pick from and create your own. But things that you should include in your marketing plan are, things that all agents are gonna do is put the listing into the MLS, which is gonna syndicate to every website out there, any real estate website. You're gonna put a for sale sign on the front lawn. You're gonna hold open houses on Saturday and Sunday, maybe, or one day out of the weekend for the next month. I mean, say you're gonna do a Saturday, Sunday for the next month, that's a bit much, but maybe you're gonna commit to every Sunday for 4 weeks. Or Saturday, Sunday, the first 2 weekends, whatever it is, you're gonna have a brokerage preview where you're gonna invite other agents to preview the property. Which is strictly for agents, for them to preview the property before showing it to their clients. You're gonna send out just listed postcards to the neighborhood. You're gonna post a social media ad in the zip code announcing the listing. You're gonna put it up on Facebook, on Instagram. If you have TikTok, you might do TikTok. You're gonna hire a professional photographer to come on and photograph the home. Maybe you're gonna do a Matterport, which is a 3D, I guess, tour where you click on in the room and you can walk around and look around, right, 360-degree. So that's a Matterport. So you have to include everything you're gonna do to market the property, right? And those are just some of the things. So you have to have a marketing plan. Let them know what you're gonna do for them to sell their home. And then a summary of the process. The seller should be able to clearly understand the steps you'll take to help them achieve their goal, right? Make sure they understand. If there's something they didn't understand, go over it with them. Oh, when you know, buyer seller's gonna say, when you said this, what did you mean? Oh, let me explain that to you. And then it doesn't matter how long it's gonna take. You wanna make sure that they understand exactly what they're getting into, what they're getting out of you. And remember, you're not, in real estate, I can't stress this enough, you're not a home salesman, you're selling yourself, your services, your professionalism, right? To sellers, to buyers, right? The homes sell themselves. There's buyers out there for homes. They walk in, they look at it, it sells itself, right? You're selling yourself. So build yourself up, right? Say as many good things about yourself as possible. What are you gonna do? Maybe add more things than other agents do. Even little things that, whatever little things that you can do to add to your marketing plan, it just add it because it just makes the list bigger. And so when they see this list of things, yeah, it's like, wow. Another thing you want to include is a net sheet. So if you came up with a suggested list price, you want to print out a net sheet based on a couple of different prices. And what a net sheet is a printout of what the home sold for and everything that's being paid out, including the existing loan on the property and commissions and escrow fees and title fees and everything, and how much they get at the end, at the closing.
Oh,
Right, so that's a very, very good tool to, or sheet to include in your listing presentation. So one thing that you can do is download the Lawyers Agent One app on your phone. And this will calculate everything for you. So what I'm doing here, I have the app open. I enter the sell price, which I'm entering $1,250,000. It's asking what the broker fee is, how much are you paying commissions, Mr. Seller, let's say 5%. And then, is there an existing loan balance? I'm saying that there's $450,000 owed on the property. And then there's other fees that this app calculates. It averages out escrow fees and title fees and everything else and taxes. And all I have to do is hit compute. And it tells me, Mr. Seller, you're gonna net $727,785 if we sell your home for 1.25. You can print this out and include it in your presentation, or you could, while you're sitting there and they tell you what they want to sell it for, maybe there's gonna be a time where maybe the seller says, this is how much I want to get out of the home. Like, I don't care what you have to do, this is what I want out of the home. And that might mean reducing your commission. It might mean, I don't know what it might mean, but you want to be realistic and bring them down to to reality, right? I understand this is what you want to get. We'll try to get that for you. But other things you want to say is, if we don't get that, if we don't get any calls or any interest or any showings after a week, can we reduce the price by 10,000 or 15 or 20,000, whatever it is, depending on how outrageous the price is. And then if we still don't get any interest, can we reduce it again? Because Mrs. Seller, you have to understand that the longer your property sits on the market, the more people are wondering, what's wrong with the house? Why is it still on the market? Right? So if it's overpriced and then they decide to reduce the price a month into it, guess what? You're already a month on the market and people are wondering, they're just gonna glance over it because it's been on the market for so long. So these are all like strategies that you have to go over with them. Any questions on any of this? Okay. What to bring to your listing appointment? I'm gonna bring a laptop or tablet with a digital listing presentation if that's what you're gonna do. If you don't want to print it out and you just want to present it on your laptop or tablet, then you can bring that. A hard copy of your listing presentation or CMA, right? All the data we were talking about. extra copy of your listing presentation to CMA, one for them, one for yourself. So you can say, if you go to page 3 or page 4, you see that, blah, blah, blah. So that way you're not like over their shoulder like this while they're looking at, oh, here's turn the page, right? A suggested list price. I wouldn't include this suggested list price in the CMA itself. I would just have it on a separate page. Don't let them see it, just have it written down somewhere or printed somewhere. And make sure that whatever your suggested list price is, it's based on data, right? And remember, you haven't seen their home. This is the first time you've seen their home. So it might change based on what you see, because they could have told you that, oh yeah, it's spotless and blah, 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 but it looks like shit. I mean, you walk in and cabinets are falling off, the kitchen cabinets are falling apart, and there's, broken tile on the floor, whatever the case may be. Then you're like, okay, I'm glad I didn't give them that suggested list price, because now I'm thinking it's gonna be less. Or the opposite. Wow, they weren't kidding about how awesome and upgraded their home is. I think I changed my mind. I think we can get more for this. Or, oh, they didn't mention the view. God, that view is a $25,000 view. Let's bump the price up, right? And sometimes they forget, but that's why when you're there, and we're gonna talk about what the flow of the listing appointment should be, like what you do first and so forth. But these are all things that you should bring with you. So let's finish this. Net sheets, and we talked about that shows them how much they get after closing. Or have the app open and ready to show them. Lori's Agent One app, that's what it's called. Have your calculator out in case you need to calculate commissions or whatever you have to calculate. And bring a blank listing agreement in case they're ready to sign. Hopefully they'll be ready to sign. Maybe brownies, cookies, or a small gift or something, maybe, And bring your listening ears, most importantly. Sometimes we're so caught up in telling them how great we are and just bragging about what we've done and how we're the best agent in the world, when all they want to do is they want you to listen to them. They want, hey, if there's gonna be times when you sit down and first you introduce yourself, hey, thanks for calling me, appreciate it. And then you look around, you're gonna see pictures of their grandkids or their kids or whatever. Hey, your daughter plays softball? That's pretty cool. How long has she been playing that for? You want to build a connection, right? So it's not just a business, it is a business relationship, but you also want them to trust you, right? And when you relate to someone, that trust, I think, builds a little faster. And when you show some, interest in their family, in just them in general, they're gonna appreciate that. So maybe they're gonna sit there, they're gonna wanna talk to you about like, oh yeah, they just won their championship this weekend and we drove all the way up to. If they wanna talk, just let them talk. Listen, just listen. And then eventually it'll get back to the actual listing presentation or what you're there for. But there's gonna be times where they're gonna just talk about their personal stuff and their grandkids and blah, 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 and you're talking to them and oh yeah, we did the same thing, blah, 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 whatever. And they're just gonna say, okay, where do we sign? You don't even have to show them anything.
Right.
Or what were you thinking? How much were you thinking? Okay, yeah, we like that price, let's sign. And there's gonna be times where you're gonna have to go through the data and over, and maybe they're not gonna be happy, and maybe they're gonna be offended that you're gonna suggest a lower price or whatever it might be. But it's gonna go different every time. So just be ready for this. And listening ears is one of the best things that you can do during a listing presentation, because they want to tell you how great their home is. And, oh, we did this to it, we did that to it, or our kids, grew up here and we lived here for, 17 years and we've seen so many things and blah, blah, blah. And the neighbor over there used to do this and that neighbor, just listen. There's nowhere else you have to be. This is the most important thing at that point in time to get this listing. Any questions on this? Okay. So touring the home and making the close. A common mistake many agents make is going straight into the tour of the property, but by starting in the living room or another relaxed setting, maybe like the kitchen table or something like that, to hear more about the seller's goals. You start the appointment by flexing your listening skills, like there's that word again, and have the chance to really get clear on your seller's motivations. Right?
So, example, when you first get there, you wanna walk in, you wanna ask them, you want them to show you the home first, right? Like, well, first you wanna thank them for giving you the time, and then ask them.
Morning, come on in. So we'll talk about the flow of it.
Okay.
All right, so from there, you can go ahead and tour the property. Many agents recommend doing the upstairs first, then the downstairs, then a full 360 tour of the outside before sitting down to look at the CMA together, pricing strategy and marketing plan. So you want, before you start talking about your comparable properties and everything, your marketing plan, you want to make sure you tour the house. Before you say, hey, I think, well, they're gonna be like, you haven't even seen the house, like, how do you know it's worth that much if you haven't even seen the house? So. Introductions. This is how the flow should go, and after you've done it a few times, you're gonna develop your own strategy, your flow of how you think it should go, right? Whatever works for you. So you get their introductions, hey, are you so-and-so? Oh, nice to meet you, thanks for reaching out, I'm so-and-so, blah, blah, okay, cool. Review their goals, needs, wants of the seller. Oh, when we spoke on the phone, you mentioned X was important to you, right? So you're summarizing that you were listening. Hey, you said this over the phone. Let's see, this proactive retelling of what the seller said shows that you're professional, prepared, actively listening, and more importantly, sets the tone for the direction of the conversation. So, introductions, maybe sit down in the living room, kitchen area, talk about, summarize what you talked about over the phone. Next, hey, can you show me the property? Sure, all right. Take a tour of the property. Maybe they want to start off in the downstairs or the upstairs or the garage, whatever it is. Let them show you the house. And maybe along the way compliment their taste in their decorating style or color scheme or whatever, right? So you make them feel good about what they did to their home. That always helps.
Give them confidence.
Then you reconvene at the meeting spot. I'm really excited to expose your amazing home to the market and generate a solid pool of buyers. You don't have to say it like this. Say it in your words, right? Say it in your words. Maybe not like that, but we want to compete with each other for your home. Let's see. Let me show you what we do to make sure marketing. Okay, so then you're going to explain what you do, blah blah blah, and then you're going to show your comparable properties. Let's see. Ask the seller if they have an idea how much they want to list their home for, because I guarantee you they already have something in mind. They're either getting mailers from other realtors that shows what the recent sales are, or they're going on Zillow to find out what their home is worth. And Zillow is a liar, is a goddamn liar. So if they tell you, oh, I went on to Zillow, you should have, that's one thing I forgot to mention. Include the Zestimate from Zillow. Okay. So that way you can show them, like, when they say, oh, I was thinking this much, you already know what they're thinking because that's what Zillow said. Oh, you must have gotten that from Zillow. Did you know that Zillow just takes an average of a 1 mile radius around the property and they don't even, that's why you need an agent, right? They don't compare apples to apples and they just take an average of whatever sold. And even if the neighborhood across the street was brand new and yours is not, yours is built in, let's say 2000 and theirs was built in 2024. They just take an average of all and they don't take into consideration they were built in different years. Maybe there's different HOAs. Maybe there's
Do you know, is it only a mile around circumference or is it longer?
I think it's a radius. I don't know exactly the exact radius, but there's a radius around and they don't take into account whether it's detached, attached.
Right.
I don't even know if they take into account whether it's condo or single family. But that's why you tell them, that's why you have realtors like me, that we can compare apples to apples and tell you exactly what the homes, the recent sales are that match your home, right? The characteristics of your home. So if agreeable, if the list price they were thinking about is around what you were thinking about, okay, cover paperwork and skip the market analysis and go for a signature. Say, hey, that's exactly what I had based on the research I did. And now you don't have to convince them of what they need to list at, right? If they want to see the evidence, show it to them. Let's see, let's move on. If their list price is not realistic or they do not have one in mind, you should present your CMA listing presentation, discuss recent comparable sales, highlight the upgrades or lack of upgrades compared to the subject property. Discuss the average sale price, average price per square foot, average days on market. This is important. So when you print out the comparable sales, I like to print out all the photos in the MLS for each listing. Because it shows you all the upgrades that were done or if the property's original compared to their property. So, and print it in color, if you're gonna do this, if you wanna compare that, because they get to see, you know, before coming up with a price or them suggesting a price, they get to see what their competition was or is, right? Even active properties. So you're not only showing them recent sales, you're also showing them what their competition is, right? Anything that's active, anything that's pending, print everything out. They get to see it. And then let them judge, hey, does your house look like this? Okay, so they'll be a little more realistic. Average price, sales price, that's one way of coming up with a suggested list price. So if you have 5 homes that sold and then when you create a CMA, it gives you an average sales price. That could be a suggested list price. Or you can use the average price per square foot. Maybe there's not an exact match. Maybe the subject property is 1,900 square feet, but the comparables are 1,800 square feet, 2,000 square feet, 1,750 square feet. So they're kind of a little all over the place, but there's gonna be an average price per square foot. That's another way of coming up with a suggested list price. That average price per square foot times 1,900 square feet, the square footage of the subject property. That's another way to come up with a suggested list price. Average days on market, also show them this, right? When you're showing them your recent sales, you're gonna see average days on market, and you're gonna be able to point out which ones were priced right from the beginning, right? Look, they priced their property correctly, they sold in 5 days. This property priced it correctly, they sold in 3 days. This property, they listed 50,000 more than what they should have, and then they reduced the price, and they were on the market for 45 days. So, you know, whatever we listed at, we have to make sure that it's market, otherwise it's gonna sit on the market.
Right now, current market, let's say just make up these numbers, let's say like recent comps are 1 million for easy,
Mhm.
yeah? And you got a new house that's coming on the market and it's like the average of those last 5 houses, like it looks just like a month, right? Right now, are people listing the house at that 1 million, or are they doing 1,020,000?
No, I would suggest listing it over the last sale, if the market's hot,
If the market's hot, right, so we're under inventory, so.
maybe $1 million, yeah, maybe $25,000 over the last sale, depending on the price range. You can
If it's
probably,
under 1 million, would you do 25,000, would you do something else?
maybe 19,000, like 19,900, so it's like under, so let's say it was, 950,000, let's say 900,000, 900,000.
See,
Maybe
900,000 condo.
maybe 919,900, so it's under 19, it's under
1 million.
1920.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wait, what was the
Would you say 900?
900?
And then you said
So I would do 919,
900.
so it's under 920,000. So when realtors, because here's the story, that kind of went off script there. So when you guys are searching for properties for your clients, you're searching for properties under a certain amount. So like, let's say they qualified for 925. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna say, look for properties that are 925 minus. So anything less than 925 or less. So it's gonna show up, or maybe they're pre-approved for 920, so it's below 920 at that point. It's 919,900 or 919,999. So it's gonna fall in. So that's what agents do now, is like a strategy to fall underneath, even though it's 920 is what it is, right? Even though it's 19,999, it's 920.
That's just like marketing like a Target or whatever.
Yeah,
So if summer market, we're doing that right now, what would we do in the winter market? Like November? Like your house.
So prices have been going up steadily.
So you would just still do that.
As long as the market is going the way it is, I would keep doing that. And then if we get to a point where prices are just kind of stagnant, maybe houses are sitting on the market a little bit longer, then I'd price it, like the last sale. And then if the home's only worth as much as someone's willing to pay for it, right? So if you have multiple buyers and you counter everybody, then you're gonna get more for it. If you have one buyer, you counter them and maybe they'll go up a couple thousand, okay. Present your marketing advertising strategy. So this is kind of like the flow, right? Discuss listing terms and ask for a signature. Listing terms is, it's gonna be, I'll need a 6-month listing. It's not gonna take that long to sell your home. Hopefully not, right? Depending on how you priced it. But this is standard. This is what we do. If they say, no, I only want to list it for 3 months, let's do 3 months, then that's fine. I just want to make you happy and make you feel at ease that you're not locked in, for something you're not gonna be happy with if you're not happy with it. So, and also commission, that's a listing term, right? So the listing terms are the beginning date, ending date. So whenever you're going on the market and for how long, what the listing price is gonna be, and how much commission are you gonna be paying? And then another one of those terms, and I have a copy of the listing contract here to show you guys at the end, just to give you an idea of, because we talk about the listing contract, but it's easier to show you the listing contract. There's also a section that shows on the current version of the listing contract, how much you're gonna be offering the buyer's agent from that. Let's say they're gonna pay you 5% total. A little bit lower in the contract on the same page, it says, I'm going to give the buyer's agent of that 5%, 2.5% of that 5%. So we're just getting 2.5% pretty much.
Okay, so, and we are liable to pay that.
Well, at closing, yeah, because the seller's paying for that, and then escrow out of the proceeds ends up paying both agents.
So we'll never really get a full 6%. We have to share that with the buyer agent.
Right. And then we're gonna get to a point pretty soon where sellers might not even offer buyer's commission.
Really?
So,
But isn't that gonna be in the contract where the buyer is,
but yeah,
gonna be taken care of regardless?
right, so buyers are gonna have to sign a buyer broker agreement, saying that they're gonna pay a commission to their agent. The only thing with that is that if the buyer's agent gets commission from any other source, it credits towards the buyer's obligation.
Right,
So if the listing side is offering the commission to the buyer's agent, then that credits towards the obligation of the buyer. So if the buyers agree to pay 2%, and the listing agent is offering 2% to the buyer's agent, buyer pays nothing. Because they're getting it from the listing side.
okay,
But if they agree to 2.5%, the listing agent's offering 2%, the buyer is still obligated to pay 0.5% more. Yeah,
What if it goes the other way? And the seller pays 2.5% and the buyer originally agreed to 2%, so the 0.5% now split.
wouldn't that get credited toward the?
no, there's a box in the contract, the buyer's contract. That if you check the box, then it says that extra commission goes towards the buyer's closing costs, or
But the agent can't just keep the 2.5%,
none of that box is checkmarked.
but if it's not checked.
Then I would assume that the agent gets the whole commission.
I'm curious.
Yeah, but if that box is checked, and that's a good way, that's a whole other class, right? The buyer, you're working with the buyer, but that's a way to get the buyer to sign that buyer broker agreement. Is, hey, you agree to pay me 2%, and most likely, in most cases, the listing side is gonna pay for that. But if they were to offer 2.5 or 3%, if you sign this now, I check this box here, as you've been rated, it shows that you're gonna get a credit of any excess. So by signing with me today, if there's any excess, I agree that that's going to be you. And why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't they want to sign?
Right,
Because not everyone is doing that.
right.
All right, so sometimes the flow of the visit will take on a life of its own, and we talked about that. Sometimes you're gonna sit down and then you're gonna go talk about their grandkids or about whatever it is, right? Their neighbors, and that's okay. You should be able to adjust on the fly. The seller might not need all the info you're ready to present. They probably already did their research. They probably you're getting flyers from other agents, that shows how much the recent sales are, or what listings are listed at. Some will, want to know either, what do you charge? Maybe sometimes they'll call and say, hey, what do you charge? So, okay. How much can you sell my home for? And it's like, well, if they're calling up to, or if you're sitting there, maybe that's all they wanna know. They don't wanna talk about anything else, their neighbors or their grandkids. What's your marketing plan? So if you don't have any of this, you should have all this ready, right? Because these are the questions they're gonna ask you. Do you have any buyers for my house? Guess what? They're getting calls and letters from other agents saying, I have a buyer ready to buy your house, which is BS, This is a way to get them to call you, and then they end up saying, the agent ends up saying, oh, well, actually, you're looking for a single story, yours is not, but since you're calling me and you want to sell your house, hey, let's talk. This is a way to get them to call.
Wait,
Yeah. How long will it take to sell my house? Right? And then you already have that data, you have average days on market, right, for your comps. So these are the types of questions they're gonna ask you. Take time to answer any questions and concerns, address any concerns that they have. Summarize your game plan at the end, right? Example. I'll send my photographer out on Tuesday or Wednesday, what works best for you. Okay, so we're gonna start with that. I'm gonna have the for sale site on the lawn on Friday on this day, blah, blah, blah. So you're gonna go over, so you should already have a plan for all this. And maybe while you're on the listing appointment, you can change some of the days and times depending on when they're ready and so forth, right? These are things you should already like summarize. Hey, so cool, we signed the listing contract. Now let's go over what's gonna happen. This is gonna happen. We're gonna do photographs. We're gonna put a for sale sign up. The listing's gonna be entered into the MLS and social media and all the websites by Friday. We're gonna have an open house this weekend, right, this next weekend. And so let them know, so in case there's something they have to do to prepare, maybe they need more time, so, okay, so we won't have the open house until next weekend, we won't put it into the MLS until next Thursday or Friday, right? If you need time to either paint or declutter or whatever it is, move some stuff out, you have time to do that. So after the listening, wait, any questions on that?
question.
Yes.
We bring our own for sale sign, they have to sign, so in the contract, they're giving us the right to put a for sale sign on their lawn, right?
By default.
By default, okay.
But they can opt out. Some people do not want a for sale sign on their front lawn. They don't want their neighbors to know, even though there's gonna be agents showing the property, they just don't want to advertise, or people to know that they're selling the house.
Okay.
So they have an option. They can opt out of that.
And then the photographers can say like, if they want to stage, that all comes out of our pocket on here.
Staging. Thanks for bringing that up. That's something that a lot of agents are offering now, and it's negotiable. Sometimes you can get the client to pay for it, or sometimes you can offer to pay for it depending on what commission they're paying. Excuse me, if they're paying you a full, 3% on your side, yeah,
Take it out.
some agents are offering it because that's what it's gonna take to get the listing, right? But if they want to discount as much as possible, like they got you down to, whatever the lowest amount is, and then they want you to do staging, it's like, that's, I'm already, taking the loss on this, so if you want staging, you're gonna have to pay for it. And then maybe make sure you have staging companies on hand already.
Do you know what percentage of properties are being staged right now versus staged? Maybe more than the same?
I wouldn't say more because there's a lot of listings where the owners are still living in the home, so it's their own furniture because they're finding another replacement home.
But if it was a vacant home?
Yeah, I don't know what the percentage is on vacant properties as to how many are staged and how many are not staged.
I know they did say something like 79% houses get sold faster when it's staged.
They're always sold after their stage, it's just a cost out. I'm
Yeah,
just curious what people are doing right now.
well, I know for sure, like
They say they get more money when it's staged too.
Yeah, well, they buy discount like furniture and stuff, they hold it in a storage unit, so then they just keep reusing that.
Money. Yeah, they get a better price when it's staged because they visualize what it looks like. It looks nice, right?
Right.
After the listing presentation, you made it to the listing presentation, hopefully You won the listing, congratulations, you guys got it, you got the listing. If you listen like a friend, handle objections with ease and empathy, and kept the presentation focused firmly on their needs, you're probably holding a signed listing agreement in hand. Hopefully that's the case, but regardless of the outcome, remember to always thank the seller for their time. So whether they say, you know, we're gonna think about it, or, we're not ready to sign now, or, you know, we'll call you, right? And that probably means, it doesn't always mean something bad, but thank them for their time. So before we take questions, I wanted to show you guys, on CV Desk, there are videos that show, you go into see Colder Micro University. What is that? Micro University. Now it's gonna make me log in again. So there's a couple of videos on here. One of them it illustrates like what the phone call should sound like. I think it's like in cartoon format or something, but, and then the other one is like the flow of the listing appointment itself. And they're like a couple minutes each one. Oh. Yeah, it didn't take my whole name.
It's not typing.
And so I'm gonna go here, I'll click on video library. In case you guys want to go through and look at some of these videos. And seller qualification.
Hello, this is Taylor with Town Realty. How can I help you?
Hello, my name's Jamie. My cousin Alex worked with you last year and recommended you.
I'll be sure to thank Alex for the referral.
We're thinking of selling our house. It's on the same street as Alex's, not far from your office.
Thank you for calling. I'd like to ask you some questions so that I fully understand your situation. Do you have a few minutes?
Sure. My cousin was right. This agent knows what they're doing.
Oh, great. Thank you. I'll be taking some notes to be prepared to work with you. First, I need to understand their motivation. I'm curious. Why are you considering selling your house at this time?
Hurry up, Grandma. You're too slow.
Well, we want to move closer to family, and they're out of state. We've been working with an agent there to find a home.
That's wonderful. Now, I need to gauge their urgency. How soon do you need to move?
We'd really like to move in the next 3 months, but our agent there says inventory is tight.
If that's the case, it might take longer to buy than sell. Do you have a plan if that happens?
Yes, we've thought of that and have made arrangements to stay there with our family.
I've got a committed seller. Next, I'll determine their price expectation. What are you hoping to get for the property?
A house not as nice as ours sold a few months back for $550,000. Our property is better, so we think we'll get more. We're looking in the $550,000 to $575,000 price range and need the proceeds from this house to pay for the new one. What do you think our house is worth?
I'm not going to talk about price over the phone. I'll have the net proceeds sheet ready and we'll be prepared for pricing objections. Thank you for sharing that information with me. It will help me guide you. The current market dictates price, and I want to do a thorough CMA so we have the very latest market data before we discuss strategy. Learning from their past experience will help me determine my approach. Tell me about the last time you sold a home.
Oh, it was frustrating. We never understood how the property was being marketed. It sat on the market for 5 months before it sold, and that was after 2 really painful pricing reductions.
That's too bad. What would you expect your agent to do differently this time?
For starters, have a marketing plan that works.
Well, I think you'll be really impressed with ours. We have a detailed marketing plan and do 3D tours. I could have a photographer there right away. What do you think?
That sounds a little expensive to me.
Obviously, money is important to them, but is it the most important? Let me find out. What's most important to you? Marketing, an easy transaction, timing, fees for my services, or pricing?
Well, they all sound important. We're excited to move, and we want to be there as soon as possible.
Oops. Let's set a time to meet that works for both of you so I can answer all your questions. Let me try a soft close to gauge their interest. If you and your husband agree that I'm the right agent to market your house for the best price and in your time frame, would we have the basis for a working business relationship?
Yeah, I would say so.
Thank you. I am confident we can partner to sell your property. Time to gather property intel to provide a detailed CMA. I'm really looking forward to seeing the house. Can you tell me about it?
Sure. It's the best home on the cul-de-sac. 3 bedrooms, 3 baths, a 3-car garage. There's a huge backyard, and we just recently put in a great outdoor kitchen.
Well, that sounds great. I don't want to miss any of the amenities as I'm preparing the CMA. Could you create a video walkthrough of the property and send it before I come out?
Sure, I'll send it right over.
I'm already building momentum towards a partnership. Thanks. I'll look forward to that. I've got the info to create a great listing presentation. Now I can ask for the appointment. Let's get together to go over the information I gather, including my plan to get the property sold and get you to your family. Would this evening at 5 be a good time, or is tomorrow morning at 10 better?
Tomorrow at 10 works better for my husband.
Great. I look forward to meeting him. I'll set expectations for our appointment. I'll also send you some of the elements of my marketing plan to help you make an informed decision. Will you take a few minutes before we get together to review it?
Yeah, sure. I'll take a look at it.
I'll get it to you within the hour. And then, after you review it, if you have any questions or need any additional data, feel free to call me. I'll also include the disclosures that are required to be completed by all sellers. It'd be helpful if you could review those and maybe even get started filling them out. That way, if you have any questions about the forms, I can answer them when we meet.
Okay, good to know.
Thank you. I can email everything to you, or would you prefer a printed copy?
Email is fine.
I want to create the best experience for these sellers. Great. Thank you, Jamie. Is there anything I didn't ask that you think I should know to be prepared for our meeting?
No, not that I can think of.
Great, and thank you. I'll look forward to meeting you and your husband tomorrow.
Okay, what'd you guys think of that?
That's great.
It's helpful, right?
Yeah.
Kind of gives you an idea of how the flow goes, the conversation would go with a potential seller if someone were to call you up. Here's the actual listing presentation. It's always better to see it, you know? It's one thing to learn about it, but to actually see it, and even if it's an illustration.
Jamie and Cameron, thank you so much for the opportunity to meet with you. I'm excited to get this house on the market and get it sold. And thank you for sending me the video of your home. I'd like to begin by learning even more. Can you take me on a tour and share what you love about it?
Yeah, sure. We'll also point out some of the improvements we've made.
Great! Let's start with the outside and work our way to the kitchen.
Sounds great.
Thank you for showing me the property. Just to clarify your situation, your goal is to move closer to family out of state within the next 3 months, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And you're thinking you'd be able to get more than $550,000, right?
That's right. A property not as nice as ours sold a few months back for $550,000.
Oh yes, and you'll see that property in my analysis. Some of the great things about working with me are that I am very knowledgeable about this neighborhood and market. I understand how properties need to be marketed to find buyers, and I create pricing strategies based on your needs and time frame with the sale. We'll talk about all three: price, marketing, and my track record and experience. I'll allow the sellers to dictate the starting point. Yesterday, you shared that marketing was most important to you. I brought my marketing plan and I emailed it to you yesterday. Not sure if you had a chance to look at it. Would you like to start there?
I don't want to admit that I'm most interested in price, so I'll say marketing. Marketing sounds like a good place to start.
Time to plant the seed for my unique value. Before I list some of the unique strategies I will implement to market your property, let me share the basic marketing I and most other agents do. Just like other agents, I will list in the MLS, which automatically syndicates to thousands of real estate websites. I'll put it on social media and create a flyer to send to my database. Your property will be one of the 30,000 properties in the MLS where there are 7,000 agents. With those numbers, it takes a bit of luck that the right agent sees your property at the right time. You wouldn't want to leave the sale of your property up to chance, would you?
No way. This is a big move for us.
Now, I'll tell them how I go above and beyond other agents. I'll proactively identify the top 20 agents who sold similarly priced properties in your community last year and personally check in to see if they have any buyers, and will keep the property in mind. Reaching out to the agents who specialize in this market will create more demand and more showings than the MLS will create. The more showings I can get for your property, the faster it will sell. Not only will I reach out to the top agents in this community to tap into their buyers, I will also proactively reach out to my buyers. I did some research and identified 76 buyers actively searching for properties on our website. Once I list your property, I will text or email them a link. Then I will personally call them to tell them about your property. How does that sound?
Sounds great.
Great. They are on board with marketing. Now it's time to talk about price. I know if I give them only one price, they'll be more likely to say they will think it over. So I'll give them 3 options, so they will be more likely to choose one. Based on this information, I think we would agree that your property could sell anywhere from $550,000 to $650,000, and the difference between getting $550,000 and $650,000 is time. And it's almost impossible to time the market. The data tells us the properties at the lower end of this range sold faster. If you are more motivated by time, we will go to the lower range. If you are more motivated by money, we will go with the higher range. And if you prefer a blend, we will go with the middle price. What strategy do you feel would work best?
I'd say we're motivated by both. Listing in the middle at $590,000 feels right. What do you think, Cameron?
Yeah, that is a great price. It can hopefully get us where we need to be in our time frame.
From everything I've learned so far about your goals, I can see why you chose that option. They said yes to my marketing, pricing, and timing strategies. It's the perfect time to ask them to sign the listing agreement. Are you ready to take a look at my listing agreement? Signing this document solidifies our relationship and commitment to selling your home.
Okay, let's do it.
First, I'll be transparent about how I will get paid, as well as discuss how buyer's agents are compensated.
Great. I was wondering about that.
I'm glad I had a conversation with my broker about our compensation options before this appointment. These documents outline the terms of our agreement and the percent commission I will earn for the sale of your house. Separately, here, we recommend that you offer to compensate the buyer's agent in some amount. Typically, buyers will have signed representation agreements in X% with their buyer agents, but many buyers cannot afford this out of pocket and are unable to finance a brokerage commission. So, some buyers may find listings that are offering to pay these costs on their behalf to be more appealing than others. This strategic marketing move can open doors to a broader network of buyers and a smoother transaction that is more likely to end up at the closing table. And of course, whether to offer this compensation and the amount is completely your choice.
We want to get our listing in front of as many people as possible.
Great. All of these documents are already filled out. We just need to go through them, have you sign, and we'll get this house on the market. Together, we will choose a strategy, and I will execute on that strategy immediately. I want you to feel comfortable and confident that I will stay in communication with you. Do you have a preference for email, calls, or text?
All work fine.
Great. I will email you the showings report every week and will call with updates every Tuesday, if not more often. And at any point when anything changes in the market that might impact this sale, rest assured that I will call you and we will revisit our conversation. Does that sound good?
Yep, sounds good.
Okay, great. Let's get started right away.
How does that look? How does that sound? It's good, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is it possible, like, let's say the listing agent is talking to the seller and the seller says, you know what, I don't want to pay buyer's compensation at all. Inform everybody of that. So
The
they-
listing agent said or the
listing
seller
and
said
seller
that?
Together in their conversation, right? And he said, like, I'm gonna pay you to sell the house, but I heard about all this stuff. And I don't necessarily have to, so I wanna just offer 0% right now. So let's say they offer 0%, it goes on the market, and then all the buyers get calling, hey, is there buyer compensation? Say, no, right? House doesn't sell for like a month. Then can it be then changed? Like, would you go and change? Like, if the seller says, you know what, go ahead and offer me 2% or 1% or something, right?
You'd have to make an addendum,
So you have to do an
a
addendum.
modification of terms, I believe, for that listing contract that says that you're gonna offer a commission to the buyer's agent, but then, you know, by that time, you're not gonna get as many calls because it's not as hot, right?
Right.
And agents already know you're not offering commission, so. It's, that's something you're gonna have to discuss with them. All right, so I wanted to show you guys, actually, before I show you guys the forms, the listing contract, I asked Holden to come in case you guys had any questions. Remember, everyone's gonna do this a little bit differently. There's not one correct way of doing this, right? If you develop a style or flow or whatever it is for your listing presentation that works for you, that's great, and that works. But everyone's gonna do it differently. That's why I asked Holden to come in. He gets a lot of listings, and his is totally different from what I'm teaching you guys here. Right, Holden? So what do you do when you go in for a listing appointment? Like, how does the flow go? And what do you take with you?
Every situation to me is different. So that's what I've had to become accustomed to. Because I've been doing this a while, and I used to go in with a pre-made listing presentation. I tried everything, and
Well, let me start off by Holden has a farm area. So everybody knows who he is there. His signs are up all the time. He sells a lot of homes in that area. So what he's doing is working for him because everybody knows who he is. Right? So sorry, go ahead. Just wanted to preface that.
that's how I get everybody's trust and to know me, which is what I was gonna say. In my time doing this is the most important thing. Everybody is going against you. they're interviewing a lot of other people with you. Why the hell are they gonna sign with you? Okay, because they trust you. Why do they trust me? How do they trust me? It's my farming and they know I've been in the area. But my way of doing it, yeah, I go when they call me based on that, they know who I am, they know what I've done. Now when I go in, I'll bring current comps in the area. That's about it. And I'll sit down with them and I won't say anything and they'll look at me and say, how can I help you? That's it. Well, what the hell do you think we're here for? You know? So I used to never, ever not bring a listing contract, ever. I'd always bring, even with our current technology online. I almost sometimes don't bring one because the online technology everybody is so, tuned into that. But a lot of times I'll get people that are older and they don't know a lot about online. So I do bring the contract, but what can I say, Carlos?
So you also, you bring marketing samples, right? Like samples of flyers that you send out and so forth?
Yeah, I've done that. I've done that forever. So I'll bring property flyers. You folks know what that is? Flyers of properties I've sold in the area, which I'll bring those. They'll see, oh, this house down the street just sold for this much, and they usually know that. If not, I'll talk about it with them so they can see I make good quality flyers. Okay,
And postcards that you send
And
out announcing
postcards.
the just listed.
correct. So I'll bring all these things, the postcards, the flyers, the property flyers. Hopefully to impress them. Look what I'm gonna do. Look what I do for other people. Look what I'm gonna do for you. Okay,
Do you come in with a suggested list price, or do you ask them what they had in mind, or how does that conversation look like?
and that's very important because obviously the two biggest things are the commission and the price.
Right.
Right? So from my doing this, I will have a price, I will look at the comps, I will look at their house, I will have a price, but I'll always say, so, what do you think you're gonna get for this house? What do you expect to get for this house? Because and I've learned this from trial and error. If I tell them the price, and I've done that, and I've not gotten the listing, and my competitor has, more than once and more than twice, okay? But when I say, what do you want to get for your house? And I know already the value of the house.
Now, did you already show them the comps by this time, or you hadn't shown them the comps by this time when you're asking them about the price?
If I'm gonna show them the comps, I will have shown them the comps.
Okay.
I size up each situation. Sometimes they come in and they don't need that. I will be sure, but I always will come with comps. And I'll say, what do you think? What do you want to get for your house? Because I've also learned that a lot of time people, they know what they want for their house. And if you don't give them that and make them think you're gonna get that, they will not sign no matter what. And the guy you hate that they're interviewing next gets the bigger thing, and that's happened to me a lot. So what do you folks want to get for the house? Now, here's the hard part. The comps show 1.3 million. And of course, their house is worth 1.7. And that's what they want. How many times have I been through that? So you can go above a little bit, but you want to try and talk them down. But again, don't give up the listing. If we have to go that high, I'll take the listing. Why is no one coming into our house later on? I showed you the comps, guys. Look at anyway. So I feel that a lot of times I'll come back here, Carlos will go, did you get the listing? I'll say, no, I know they're gonna sign with me next time, okay? But the truth is, you gotta get it the first time, okay, right?
Yeah.
Because a million people, they interview the next hour.
You guys have any questions for him?
Yeah, how long, if you say, okay, the house is worth $1 million, if they say the house is worth $1 million and you think it's worth 900, how long would you leave it at $1 million before you say, hey, it's not selling? like a month or?
Well, a couple of ways I would answer that. First of all, look at how long you have a listing agreement. Keep that in mind, okay? If unfortunately it's 3 months, you better keep that in mind. If it's a year, you're good too. But the thing is, like Carlos said, days on the market. Now, I very support the sellers, and when people say, well, it's been on the market 45 days, we're coming in less. I don't care how, if it's been on the market 145 days, the seller wants this amount, that's where you come in. I have that, I try to keep that, even though it gets hard during the process, I try to keep that stand for my sellers. How long do you wait? It's so different because the market's changing all the time. So you have to know the market in that city and in your area and make that determination, and also gauge your sellers. Are they getting nervous, starting to get agitated at you? Why are we having few showings when the other house is having a lot? This kind of thing. So you gauge that. The hardest thing in this business, in my experience, is getting a price reduction. Okay, so be careful. It's harder to get that, in my experience, than to get a listing. So,
I mean, it's harder to talk your seller into lowering the price of the home.
of course, of course.
Because they're set on that price.
And some of them need a certain amount of money for their next purchase,
Right.
and that's what they base it off of. This is how much I need to get into my next property. And that's just ingrained in their mind, that's the number. So like he said, getting them down from that number, sometimes it's impossible.
Right, but so that's, I would say to answer your question, it's so different. Really, number one is how are your sellers? Because as a listing agent, your first job, even if you're representing buyers, in my opinion, is to support your sellers. It's their house. So how are they feeling? That's what.
Very delicate.
Unbelievably, it's like walking a tightrope and everybody hates you. And that's what happens.
In regards to like marketing, staging the property, photography, things like that, like we all know that staged property normally shows better every moment. But I noticed that you have a lot of luck with virtual staging in the past.
Depending on the market, I pay for it and include
So
it.
just like if the market is, like which market are you paying for it? Which market are you just on?
Really depends on the house and situation.
So virtual staging is when the photographer adds furniture into the photos and the property is not actually staged, but the photos look like it's staged. So that's another option, that you can get it virtually staged for the photos, for the marketing on it, yeah.
If you can't get the house staged, that type of thing, which is a whole other thing that I've done I wasn't in the staging, but in the past recent years have gotten very, to like it a lot, see tremendous, positive differences from it, so
Now, how do you do that? Let's say that, I mean, the house is totally trash. I mean, do you actually virtually, how do you get around being dishonest? Because you
So,
want to say this is how it would look.
Staging is different from deception, right? Staging is just having furniture on the property. But if the property's trashed and then you make it like you give it a new paint job in the pictures and you add grass to the yard that has no grass. If you were to do something like that, you could say that this is a virtual rendering of it or something, but you can't really enhance what the home is. You have to show what the home actually is.
Right.
And again, staging is just adding furniture to it. That's all it is.
Yeah.
It doesn't change the structure or the colors or the aesthetics of the home itself. So you have to be honest. People used to do that before. They would just, the pictures of the front and backyard were like nice green lush landscape, but when you showed up, it's like dry patches of dirt and
People are gonna be really,
Yeah.
watching your language, are not gonna be very
Yeah.
happy to see that,
So
It's
so
like-
now that, like, I think the MLS, you can report listings that you see like that where they're not being truthful with the condition of the property. But I wanted to show you guys this. This is something you can pull up on, again, on CB Desk. This is a sheet you can leave with the seller after you get the listing. First impressions matter. It's just a checklist for them. They don't have to do this, but these are things to help them get the home ready for sale or to go on the market.
I'm sorry, you said you're printing this out or reprinting this out?
You can put this on, I can email this with the recording.
Okay.
But, you know, things like mow the lawn, trim the shrubs, you know, to increase curb appeal, and then to make the interior shine, you have things like paint walls, to neutral fresh coat of paint, shampoo the carpet if there's carpet, things like that. But this is something that you can leave with the seller, you know, to let them know, hey, you know, I have some homework for you, right? Let's, you know, for you know, to get what you want, let's make sure some of these things are done. And you can find this on CV Desk. It's called the seller checklist. But again, I'll email this out along with the recording, either this afternoon or tomorrow morning. I'll get it to you today though, before you leave, because I know you have a listing appointment. And then there's this this is like a marketing checklist. This is a listing management checklist. You can I don't think this is from Desk, but maybe it is. I'm gonna email this out as well. But you can use this for your listings to check off things that you need to do, but also you can also pull some information from here to create your marketing plan. Right? So you're gonna create your own custom marketing plan on what you're gonna do for the listing. And there's a lot of ideas here that you can use. And again, the more things you add to it, the better. So, thank you all.
Thanks all day.
Bye.
Thank you. Is that the listing management? So,
Yeah, I'll email this. Did someone have a question on Zoom? I thought I heard your voice come out of the speaker. And now this is what the listing contract looks like. There's a few other forms that come with the packet of the listing agreement, but I want to show you guys what the listing agreement looks like. And just highlight a couple of things here. As far as like the date is concerned, up at the top, this is the prepare date. That just means the date that you prepared the listing agreement. It could be today, it could be last week, it doesn't matter what it is. And then you're gonna have the sellers. If there's one or two, their names are gonna go up here. And then here, it's gonna say Coldwell Banker Platinum Properties as the broker, so it's between the sellers and the brokerage. And here's the beginning date. So this is the date that the listing begins. You can start marketing the listing, right? And this is when it ends. So you have listing in this situation for what, 3 months? November, December, January, for what, 5 months? So this is how long you have it for. And this date, it doesn't necessarily have to align with the prepared date, because you might have prepared this today, but you're actually not going to meet with them until next week. So then maybe this date here will be sometime next week, or you want to give it some time before you put it on the market. So the beginning date can maybe be, you can post date it to like a week from now or 2 weeks from today. Because whatever date is in this box here, or in this space here, that means that you have to have the listing submitted into the MLS within, I believe, 1 or 2 days of this date. So if you get the listing today and you have today's date on the listing contract, it has to be submitted into the MLS within I want to say 2 business days. I'm going to tell you guys 1 just to make sure you have it in within 1 business day, but it's either or. But that's why you want to give yourself some time, right? You want to hire the photographer, schedule a photographer to come out, give yourself some time to have photographs, because when you enter the listing into the MLS, you should have at least 1 photo of the front of the house, right? So give yourself some time to prepare for the listing. You also have to come up with a property description, get details on the property, on the neighborhood, things like that, HOA. So these are all things you're gonna have, and you have to enter into the MLS when you're entering the listing. So give yourself at least a week, maybe give them time to prepare, maybe clean up, declutter, do whatever they have to do. So you have time to set up, to prepare for it. So if I'm going to a listing appointment today, I would make this at least 1 week out or 2 weeks out.
Okay.
Unless they're ready to go, and then make it a few days out. So you can at least try to get a photographer out there tomorrow or the next day or whatever it is. But don't make it today. You want to give yourself some time and give them some time to get the home ready. And then here, it's the address of the property, the city, county, zip code, parcel number, you're gonna need the parcel number. And then down here, when you enter the price, it automatically writes out the price for you here. So this is going to be what the listing price is gonna be. If you scroll down a little bit here under number 3A, if you check this box here, if you're gonna do a percentage, you're gonna check the box. And in this case, this example, we're doing 5% total commission. And then if you scroll down a little bit further, and you check this box here, this means whatever percentage, if you check the box and enter a percentage, that's how much percentage of the 5% you're offering the buyer's agent. So if I were to give them 2.5%, offer 2.5%, I check this box and write in 2.5%. So this must match what I enter into the MLS, which I think is only for like the next month or so. After a month, I believe there's no longer a field in the MLS for buyer's commission. But as of right now, this is what we're using. And this is where you would enter that. If you do not enter anything here, that means that you can offer as much as you want of this 5%. So if you want to offer 1%, 2%, but make sure that your seller is aware of it, because it might get to a point where when you're in escrow and they see how much money you're getting, they're gonna be pissed off. I'm paying you this much money? Is that why it took so long to sell the property? Because you weren't offering a commission?
Right.
So, yeah.
I have a question.
But on the new, and on the new listing agreement, it's gonna have a section that's gonna specifically say how much is the listing agent getting and how much are they offering the buyer's agent, two totally separate fields.
What month does that roll out? Carlos?
August 14th, I think, is when that's gonna start.
Oh, they pushed it back to August? That was
Yeah,
great.
the new listing contract is not out yet, because I pulled this up yesterday. Yeah, otherwise I would show you guys the new listing
So
contract,
it's
but
basically say this is the listing agreement, the listing agent portion, and if we're gonna have buyer compensation,
Yes.
there's another X.
and then there's gonna be another field that's gonna say if you as a listing agent were to represent the buyer as well, they'll give you more commission. You can enter that, and there's a field for that. But I also wanted to show you guys the difference here between the beginning date and the actual when is the beginning date? So there's a couple of dates here that you need to keep in mind. This is the beginning date on the contract. Again, this date is just prepare date. We're only gonna use this to reference, if we're gonna have an addendum, it's gonna be addendum to the RPA prepared on this date.
That one doesn't really matter, right?
It does if you're gonna add an addendum or things like that.
So push
right?
it out, like you said, 3 days, right? 3 days,
I'd give it at least a week.
a week, okay.
Yeah,
So same with
you
the
wanna give
August
yourself enough time to schedule a photographer. and that.
bulk.
But the beginning listing date is gonna be the later of this date here, right? There's gonna be two important dates here. The beginning listing date, which is this one. And if you scroll down to the end where the signature is, the seller's signature. Almost there. This is where the seller signs. Right up here above. So the later of the two dates is going to be your beginning listing date. If at the top of the contract, it says that today's the beginning listing date, but the seller doesn't sign this contract until a week from now,
Mhm.
on next Tuesday,
Mhm.
the next Tuesday is the beginning date,
Okay.
because it's the later of the two. But if the seller signs it today, but the beginning date, like we said at the top, is in 2 weeks, then in 2 weeks will be the beginning date. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
People always have struggle with that. So it's whichever the later of the two is that's the beginning date of the contract, regardless of what the beginning date is at the top of the contract. The later of the two,
Okay,
that's simple.
Then you have 2 days to put it on the MLS.
I would say one, I think it's 2 days, but just,
Just to be on the safe side.
okay.
so any questions on that?
Mine, it's still not resonating.
What was that?
It's not resonating.
What, the beginning date?
Yeah, the beginning of the date. Yeah, bring it down 4 times.
So if, let's say they signed it today,
They sent it today.
Okay.
Okay,
and then at the top, let's go back to the top.
So they sign in on the 27th.
And then here, we say that the beginning date is gonna be July 15th.
Uh-huh.
Even though they signed it today,
Uh-huh.
July 15th will be the beginning date.
Okay,
But if this says today's date,
right,
which is the 27th,
right.
but they sign it on July 15th,
Mhm.
then July 15th will be the beginning date,
Okay,
even though this says today's date.
okay,
So whichever the later of the two, that will be the beginning date.
okay.
Of the
So
listing agreement,
of the listing itself.
of the listing itself.
Yeah.
The
The listing agreement, you can have it signed today, you have, whatever today, it's signed today, it's valid today, but the listing itself does not begin. So if someone sells it between now and 2 weeks, like, let's say the beginning date is in 2 weeks, if someone else comes and sells it, you're not entitled to the commission. Because your contract doesn't begin until, your listing doesn't begin until 2 weeks.
So why would you put a future date?
Give yourself time for the cover.
So there's a couple things you can do. You can have, I didn't want to confuse you guys with all these other things, but you have the sell, so you can have today's date here, right, in this section. This is another, thank you for bringing this up, Gina. Now you just made things worse.
Sorry.
So, okay, no.
Fix it now.
Okay, no, okay, so, okay, so because we don't have this class like that often, the listing contract, and it's not a lot to cover, I guess I'll go over it now. So you can make this today's date, so the listing contract begins today, but let's say they're not ready to put it on the market yet.
Okay,
So they don't want you to market it until July 15th.
okay,
Okay, so today you have a contract, valid contract. And that way, if anyone sells it between now and that, and 2 weeks from now, you still get a commission because your listing contract starts today,
right,
right? So you're gonna put today's date right there in that field, but then down here, there's a section that says, right here, this section, you'd have to check the box and enter a date of 2 weeks from now, let's say July 15th, saying, don't start marketing my property until July 15th.
Okay,
Even though the listing starts today, don't start marketing until July 15th. So in this case, you have to, instead of entering the listing into the MLS right now, or today, you have to register with the MLS. And all it is telling the MLS, hey, I have a listing contract with this owner, for this property. But I'm just not entering it yet. But you have to let them know, right? In case anyone else, tries to say they have a listing. So now you notify the MLS that you have the listing. So now in 2 weeks, July 15th, when you're ready to go on the market, now you're gonna add the listing into the MLS with the photos and description and everything that goes with it. And it's gonna ask you, what's the beginning date? Well, June 27th is the beginning date, even though you're going live on July 15th.
15, okay.
So I didn't want to confuse everybody. It's a little confusing, but if you guys have questions about this later, you could,
I
Call me
want
up.
to add a question.
Yes.
Just like your case like that. So because say until the July 15th.
Mhm.
But during that 2 weeks, then say, okay, my best friend buy. So that means you cannot get a contract, right? Because that.
no, if you check the box here, no, because your listing starts today.
Yeah, no, 'cause you still get a.
And you still have it because the beginning date up here is today. And they signed it today too, right? So those, both dates are the same. But all this means is don't start marketing it
Right.
or showing the property. So that means if you can't show the property either.
Do you
Or you
use
can
my listing as an example, right? So if I get a listing today, I put today's date, but he doesn't want to go to market because he needs time to move stuff out, whatever. 2 weeks from now, I'll put July 15th, and then that's when I will put it in the MLS.
You would put that here.
I would check, I would check D and put the date that he wants to go on the market.
Yes,
Okay,
So this is a really safe.
yes. But if it's like a family member, you could just post date the beginning date, right? So here's another option, and now I'm gonna confuse you guys even more. So because of Gina, thank you, Gina. So we have the coming soon form also. So there's an additional form that the beginning date will start today. So you have your listing today, but you can't show the property until the coming soon form allows you to market the property, but not show the property for no more than 21 days. So this is a good tool to create like a buzz around the listing, like anticipation, like agents are gonna to their buyers, hey, this property's gonna come on the market in, 2 weeks. Let's be ready to jump on that, right? So this also gives the seller time to do whatever they need to do to, get the home there. But you can start marketing it. You have a picture in front of the property, you send out first, just listed postcards, advertising on social media, things like that, but you can't show the property. If you were to show the property or have anyone else show the property, before the 21 days, you'd have to convert it to active in the MLS.
Okay.
And then allow showings after that.
Okay.
But see, this is a little more confusing, right? Now there's your regular beginning date, and then there's the seller exclusion saying, don't market my property for 2 weeks. And then there's also coming soon, you can market the property, but you can't show it. So, okay. All right, you guys are all smart, so. Anybody at home have questions?
Cross the bridge when you get there. That's all I ever say.
Okay. But I wanted to show you guys just so you're not surprised when you see the listing contract and just, to give you an idea of what it looks like.
You have to check the box C though, too, right? If he says, hey.
No, there's a form for that. I don't think that there's a checkbox for that. So there's a separate form that you have to include.
To print it out.
The coming soon form, it's sensitive forms as well.
For the date.
Yeah.
So we're gonna.
But anyways, if you guys don't have any questions, I think we're pretty much done here. Next week, we're gonna talk about, now that you have a listing, like I said before, what do you need to do now? Go to Disneyland? Or you celebrate? No, there's a lot to do. So next week, we're gonna talk about, now that you have the listing contract signed, now what do you do? Right? So we will see you guys next Thursday. Actually, next Thursday's 4th of July.
Yeah.
We're not open. Would you guys like the class to be, can you guys make an afternoon, like on Wednesday or Friday? Okay. I'll think about what day, if you guys wanna have it next week, it'll have to be like another day in the afternoon, or it'll have to be the following Thursday. But, I'll send an email, I'll let you guys know, but that's what the next class is gonna be about. So, I will see you guys next time.
Thank you. Thank you. Good class.